Good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to call the Nash County Board of Commissioners meeting to order at this time, June the 21st. It is customary for us to begin our meetings with a commissioner having an invocation, and then we have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. During the invocation, you can use this time to have your own prayer if you like. You can use it for a moment of silence, or you're welcome to join us and enjoy the prayer that would be given this morning, this afternoon by Mr. Fred Belfield, and then Wayne Outlaw will lead us in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. Mr. Belfield.
All right. Let us stand. Let us pray. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Life can be beautiful if we only live for Him. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. It has been a beautiful day thus far. We pray that the rest of the day will be beautiful. There are many challenges here in the county, many challenges in the state, United States, and across the world. And Father, we need to lean to you for some answers and some direction in which we must go. We are here in Nash County, and we pray that you will lead us and guide us along the way. And if you lead and guide us, we cannot go astray. We pray for our fellow commissioner, Mary Wells, who is hoping to come home tomorrow and see us in our first Monday meeting in July. We are thankful. Thank you have blessed her. And she says she's thankful. Now we are ready to start our discussion on the business section of our agenda. We pray that you'll be in everyone's heart, that we all do what is right. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
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 Would you join us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, fellow commissioners. As we all know, the second meeting of the month, we try to have a presentation by an outside presenter that's associated with Nash County, and generally an inside presenter from one of our department heads or something else located within the department, and then we'll have committee meetings at the end by the commissioners for each individual committees that they serve on. We're now on item number 4, and we're very pleased today to have Dave Peterson with the Trillium Health Resources with us to give us an update of what Trillium's got going on. It's a decision that Nash County made a couple of years ago to join Trillium, and I think the whole board would agree it's been a very good decision for us, and thus far we've been very pleased, and we welcome you here this morning, sir, this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me on the agenda today. I really appreciate that. Dave Peterson, Senior Regional Director at Trillium Health Resources. I first want to thank Commissioner Cohn and Amy Hamlet, who have been serving on our Regional Advisory Board and advising us of what needs Nash County has. And also, I've been utilizing Amy quite a bit, and she's been utilizing me quite a bit on some answers that we're needing. So we do appreciate that support. I also just want to thank Z and Stacy for the support you all have been helping us with too. So every year I come out here and do my annual report, and oh, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. How do I? Okay. Just going to hit on who we are, and the Medicaid transformation changes is probably the one I'm going to spend the most time on today. We have some organizational changes because of the transformation. I'm going to give an update on our COVID-19 response, and at the end, the county data. So we cover 26 counties, about a 1.5 million total population, about 266,000 individuals that are Medicaid eligible. So out of that, we serve about 59,000 people throughout our 26 counties. A majority of the folks that we serve are primarily have mental health needs. About 20% have substance use disorder, and about 10% with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Trillium does not provide the services. We contract that out to about 500 agencies that do provide those services. Last year, we spent over $475 million on those services, and we serve the smallest county in the state, Terrell County, and our largest county is New Hanover, and we cover about over 12,000 square miles. One of the things that I always show is this map. The lighter green is our northern region with 10 counties, and what's interesting about this map, once again, with 10 counties in the north, it's only 200,000 people in those 10 counties, all right? And then you get to the central region with Nash included in that. We go all the way out to the Outer Banks in Dare County and Hyde County. And population of that is 2.5 times the size of those 10 counties in the north, but 1 county less. And then in the southern region, because of Jacksonville and Wilmington, we only have 7 counties down there, but it's over 770,000 people in our southern region. So we're trying to proportionate the number of people that we serve in those counties for our regions. So this is the big, and I took a look back at my presentations to you all over the past several years. I did start talking about this with you all in 2018, all right? And so with that, July 1, this is now coming to fruition. This is the big change that we've been talking about the last 3 years. The state has contracted out for Medicaid individuals to 5 insurance companies that we currently serve now. And those 5 insurance companies are AmeriHealth, Blue Cross, United, WellCare, and Carolina Complete Health. And they will be serving the mild to moderate individuals with mental health, developmental disabilities, and substance abuse. We currently serve those folks today, but July 1, they will move over to those insurance companies. We will no longer be serving those folks on July 1. With that being said, this is the map that the state has for those insurance companies. 4 out of 5 of those insurance companies cover the entire state. Carolina Complete Health covers regions 3, 4, and 5 on here. This map is different than our map, and I'll get into our map a little bit later. But the standard plans, they had open enrollment, and we've talked a lot about this. So on March 15th through May 14th, first of all, that was an open enrollment period for people on Medicaid that were low to moderate risk could apply to those 5 insurance companies, all right? They didn't get enough people to automatically enroll on their own. So they extended it 1 week. So it went to May 21st. I haven't updated the slide presentation, but they extended it 1 week. And then the other thing we just heard about a week ago is about 7,000 individuals in this state decided to enroll in a private insurance company because they thought that they were low to moderate risk individuals when they really weren't. They were very high risk individuals. So the state is retracting their ability to enroll in those low to moderate, into those insurance companies, and probably going to be holding them still with us, which is probably really confusing for those individuals, but in the long run, getting served where they need to be served. So, and then after May 21st, auto enrollment occurred. And the state then, within like 2 days, they had this system completely set up. The other 1.2 million people got automatically enrolled in one of those 5 insurance companies, okay? Now, the good thing that the state did set up was that if you didn't like one of those 5 insurance companies, within 90 days, you could switch over to another one. All right? And like I said, on July 1, those insurance companies will start serving those individuals. So that was called the standard plan, those private insurance companies. The current companies like Trillium are going to be called the tailored plans. There's going to be 5 to 7 of us, but like I said, I have not been able to update this before I sent it in. We just heard 2 weeks ago, one of the 7 managed care organizations and that covers, and it's Cardinal Innovations, they decided to merge with VIA out in the western part of the state. So now we're already down to 6, which makes it a little bit easier for the department to not have to make a decision whether they want to reduce us down to 6 or 5. Legislation says they can't go lower than 5 managed care organizations. We are very confident, and I think I've told you this last year, we're pretty confident we're going to get it. And so with that being said, we're going to be next July continuing to manage the high-risk, high-cost individuals for mental health, developmental disabilities, and substance abuse. And they released that RFA to us on November 13th, 2020. We had to apply by February 2nd. We actually had our attorney drive the application to Raleigh. And the importance of this application is that if his car broke down, Dave Peterson was a backup driver to come pick him up to make sure that application got to Raleigh on time. But it was, if you know those boxes that are by your printer, that hold your printer paper, 21 boxes was our application to the state to make sure that we became a tailored plan. That's how big of an application it was, okay? So we will, the big difference in when we go live, we will continue to serve the individuals with severe mental illness, developmental disabilities, and substance abuse like we do today, but we will also be managing their physical health, which we do not do today. So I'll explain a little bit more about what that's going to entail. This right now is the map of the state where we're the light green. You see we cover the whole East Coast of North Carolina. And so this is what we're looking like, but that lighter, not the lightest blue, but the blue along the top, that's Cardinal Innovations. And they are merging with the purple counties in the western part of the state, VIA, all right? So that's happening as we speak. And there's been a lot of conversations about the counties and where they want to go. So, like I said, we had to get our application in by February 2nd. The state said that they were going to award us the tailored plan on June 11th. But because of what happened with their applications and they want to make a really clear decision on this, they postponed that and we're now supposed to hear by the end of this month. So we're still sitting on pins and needles waiting for this to happen, of getting awarded the tailored plan. We'll have a readiness review probably, not fall, but probably late winter or early spring. And then we go live as a tailored plan, the 2022, serving the people that we serve today, but now serving the whole person with their physical health side too. So talked about the behavioral and physical health. We're going to be focusing on the social determinants of health, which also include transportation, housing, food insecurities, employment, and personal safety. One of the big lifts on our part is since we're now managing or going to be managing the whole person, we only have contracts with the behavioral health providers. We're going to have a contract with every single pharmacy in our 26 counties. I'm not sure how many pharmacies are in Nash County, but we have to contract with every one of them because we're going to be managing the medication for individuals. We're also going to have to be managing the physical health side. So we're also, if any doctor's offices in Nash County, any nurse practitioners in Nash County that serve Medicaid folks, we have to contract with them now because of the physical health side. All right? So doing that whole person health. So some of the organizational changes, it's required to become a tailored plan to now have different call lines. Since we have to contract with every pharmacy, we have to have a call line just for pharmacies. If we have to have a provider call line, a nurse's call line, and then a regular call line like we have today, 24/7 for individuals in crisis. Okay? Like I said, we have to contract with the pharmacies and and the primary care offices. And then we're needing to supply some care management to deal with the whole person care. So the impact today, consumers are hopefully going to be remaining in their same services. One of the good things that the state did set up is after July 1, if someone is on one of these plans and doesn't get served, they're trying to make sure that no matter who sees the individual, that provider gets paid, okay? And then move that individual to the insurance company or over to us. We have a whole lot of infrastructure changes that we've got to make in order to become a tailored plan, like how to build that physical health side of the house. So now let me switch topics completely. COVID-19 impact. We have our own website around the COVID-19. We had to do some major rate increases for our providers in order for them to stay intact. That was our biggest concern. If we didn't pay our providers more money, because they had difficulty making sure staff were coming in to serve individuals with substance abuse issues, okay? So we did rate increases for our providers. We did a lot of waiving of prior authorizations for services. We provided COVID kits to a lot of our providers. We did respite for, or increased the hours of respite for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We really started to push the telehealth, which isn't very common for, and I'll say it, folks my age. You know, the younger generation can get into the telehealth, but I like to see my doc face to face, but that's becoming more and more accessible. We also did some food deliveries to folks that needed it during the pandemic. We promoted Hope for NC, which is a housing program and a health program. Our office is still only at about 15% capacity. We still have providers with mobile crisis doing access to, well, I'm sorry, our access to care call line is still open 24/7, and there's the link to our website. Some of the projects, and I'll go quickly through these, we do have Department of Social Services respite homes. Just before this meeting, I dropped off another about 65 kits downstairs to emergency management of naloxone kits to your emergency management. And last month, I gave about 60 kits to your sheriff's department too in Nash County. We did do the COVID kits. Like I said, we increased rates for direct care staff. And the thing that we wanted to make sure of, when we were giving a provider an increased rate, it was required that that provider put that money into the frontline staff's hourly pay. It wasn't into administrative costs. The hourly pay had to go up on those frontline staff. We did several racial and equity projects internally and externally, which we're still working on. And that's going to take a lot of time to do that, which we need. We did Safe Schools, Healthy Kids, and then the Crisis and Disaster Response Department has moved over under me. So that's my unit now, and I hope we have a very, very mild hurricane season. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now, specifics for Nash County. Last year, we served 3,062 individuals in Nash. 2,273 of them were primary diagnosis of mental health, 644 primary diagnosis of substance use, and 361 primary diagnosis of intellectual and developmental disabilities. And as you can see, these numbers don't add up. It's because some of these individuals were duly diagnosed with that. So, and that's my annual report. Any questions?
Any board member have questions of Mr. Peterson at this time? Mr. Belfield?
You mentioned 5 insurance companies in the region that you serve. Are they all providing the same service?
So they're not going to be providing the service, they're going to be providing the insurance coverage that we provide today, yes. Well, so let me put a little bit of caveat in there, okay? And one really clear example is Trillium, for basic outpatient service, like just going to your therapist once a month or once a week, which is really basic. We allow 24 unmanaged visits, so you don't have to call in to get an authorization to go see the therapist. We allow 24, all right? The insurance companies, when they take this over, what we're hearing is they're supposed to manage it the same exact way for the first year.
Mm-hmm. And then it changed.
And then we don't know what will happen from that. So your question is, yes, to a certain degree, they're supposed to be managing it the same way. And what we're hoping for, and we haven't seen the numbers, is, like I said, we have 500 contracted agencies in our 26 counties. We hope that those 5 insurance companies have also contracted with all 500 of those providers. Because if they didn't, then providers may have to move the folks that they serve over to another provider. We hope that doesn't happen.
Well, you all think that this is the best way to do it?
This is a state mandate. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm just suspicious. You got 5 of them there. Maybe if they were in competition, they would probably do better than knowing they have a strict providers that they deal with.
The difference, and this is just a side note, the difference is for agencies like ours, we're a closed network, and what that means is we only want new providers to come in and serve the individuals that we feel there's a need for, okay? But in the insurance side, it's an open network, so they can have more than 500 if they want. That's up to them.
And somebody had to make the decision that you're going to use any specific insurance company, right? So
the numbers that we heard when they tried to do the the choice of enrollment, that March 15th to May 14th or 21st date that I gave you, they said there was about 10 to 12% of the 1.2 million people chose a plan. The other number was they got auto-enrolled. So people had a choice, but if a lot of folks are like me, I see something come in the mail, it goes into the trash. But folks got auto-enrolled into an organization, into one of those insurance companies shortly after the 21st of May.
So you're saying the choice is the individual?
Individuals, so I see where you're going with this. So individuals that receive services, they did have a choice, yep. and provider agencies that serve Medicaid individuals, I would hope, enrolled in all 5 insurance companies. I do know, talking to some of the providers in Nash County, has enrolled in all 5.
Yeah. Well, can't Trillium develop some directions, specifics for these insurance companies to go by?
Yeah, and the state has tried to do that, yes. Yep.
So it's the state and not the region.
Yeah, the state is managing those 5 insurance companies, not Trillium. I mean, if you think about United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield and AmeriHealth, those are all national insurance companies, and it'd be kind of hard for Trillium to manage one of the big insurance companies.
Well, but the state can.
Yes, the state has done the contracts with them, and it's through the contracts that they're going to be managing them. That's a good point.
For state health insurance, they don't have all those companies. I wonder why they do it for mental health.
Good question.
Other commissioners with a question? Mr. Peterson? Dave, I had a couple. Since we have joined Trillium, have we had any additional growth since our county joined?
Columbus County joined us the year after.
Okay.
You all, yes.
Okay. So we've had one additional county.
Yep, so we're up to 26 now.
Okay, so that's the last one to join.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
With the merger of the other 2, which is 3 and 1 regions, do you anticipate any additional counties will look at us? The map looks very wide
Yeah.
after this merger. Do you think any of the particularly more eastern ones may join us? And I know you don't know that, but just what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that is an option. And I think the secretary, so there was 6 counties in Cardinal that, 5 or 6 that wanted to disengage from Cardinal.
Right.
Similar process that you all went through. And so I believe that the state has said, okay, there's 14 other counties that can join via or have a choice. And so we do know that that's on the table for those counties.
Do you have, you talk about your tailored plan or our tailored plan, do you have any concern that it will not be approved, or you feel pretty good about it?
100%. Trillium will get approved. Yes.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, my wife calls me arrogant sometimes, but that being said,
You're
yes.
good, you're good. I'm just curious, and not really what we're here to talk about today, but through this crisis of COVID, what were our employees, your employees, the Cardinal employees, what was it like with them? Did we lose many? Did we have trouble replacing them? Are we fully staffed, or how do we stand as far?
You mean providers?
No, actual, yours.
Trillium employees?
Yes, sir, and then my next question would be providers.
We did not lose hardly any employees. I mean, we really did not, regular turnover.
Right, okay.
So we wanted to make sure that we were very flexible with office and working remote and that sort of thing. And so, we did not have an increase in turnover at all.
How many employees does Cardinal itself have?
Cardinal or Trillium?
Trillium.
Yeah. We have about 470.
Okay. And you had very little turnover.
Yep.
You talk about the increases to the providers. What did that increase that went to the frontline workers, what did that increase average per frontline worker?
That I would not know. I mean, it was whatever the hourly that they pay, or if they're salary. Some of the front lines are salary, but, depending on whether it was a 5% up to a 30%.
Right.
Increase in the rates, because some services, and I'll just give one example, group homes, you work 8-hour shifts.
Right.
And if you're coming in for an 8-hour shift, you know, should I go into this home where people could be exposed? And so, you know, we promoted hazard pay and that sort of thing because there were some family members potentially of that staff at their own personal home that may have had COVID and they couldn't come in. So you're then wanting to pay the other staff extra to stay another shift. So
you don't have any feel of what that average might would be? I asked that for a personal reason for.
no, I really,
County.
sorry, Commissioner, that I would not
Okay.
want to take a stab at.
Okay. Mr. Lamb, I think you had a question, sir.
A couple questions. There's now remaining 6 LMEs.
Well, so the merger goes into effect July 30th, 2022. The merger of Cardinal and Via goes into effect then, so.
And so both of them will be eligible for this first year to be selected.
Say that again?
Both Via and Cardinal may be one of those 5 to 7.
They could, but if the state is seeing that they're going to be merging anyway, they're probably interpreting it, now we're down to 6.
Okay, and we'll give them a joint
Yes,
approval.
yeah, that's probably.
Is it anticipated that all the other, without naming any that might not be, that all the other 5 are going to be approved?
That,
You know, like-
yeah.
Okay, the pharmacy and provider pricing that contracts you have to do, you don't have to, you don't have to negotiate individual fees. It's based on like the state plan fee
Yeah,
schedule.
I believe that's how that's set up.
Okay. When the people that had a choice, the 10 to 12%, do you know what percentage of them went with each? Like Blue Cross Blue Shield have an 80% of the market in North Carolina?
No, we did see the numbers, and I don't have them in front of me, but I can get you those numbers for each plan. They do have.
The elective ones?
Yes.
Who
yes,
elected
yep,
which ones?
Yep, and so they gave all 5 of the numbers for each.
And the 24 episode approval that y'all do, you say the private insurance companies have to do that same type of blanket 24 episode approval for at least 1 year.
Yeah, and let me double check on that, but that's what we're hearing, yes. Yep.
And is that normal for them? Or is it individual or 6 episodes at a time or 12? Depending on the service, I guess?
I'm gonna date myself here. Back in the day, in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was working with, not for, but with insurance companies, they were not 24 back then. And so.
Could be 3, could be 5, could be 6,
Yeah,
just
it was-
whatever.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank you, at least once a month. I want the board to know that Dave contacts me, and we have been, he's come with the Narcan kits, and mainly we give them to EMS, but we've also given some to the sheriff's department because they run across these situations too, and appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
something y'all are doing beyond the call
Yeah.
of duty,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we certainly appreciate that. Your numbers on the total that you served, the 3,062,
Yep.
361 was developmental, the 3rd category.
Yes.
Are all of those going to stay with y'all?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I wasn't specific. So majority of the folks that have intellectual and developmental disabilities will be remaining across the state with the Trillium Like Us agencies. Yes, because They're on what's called the Innovations waiver.
Okay,
Yep.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions come up from commissioners?
I'd just like to thank Dave for the job he does and the commitment he has to what he does. And I know this has got to be trying to get through this thing, and we just appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Great report. We'll move to item number 5, which is an update on Miracle Park at Coopers, and I'll call on Thomas and Patsy to do this.
There, okay.
For those viewing in the audience, particularly outlying viewers, you may question, like I did begin with, why Megan always had on those dark glasses, but I understand she is required to wear those to use the machine she's cleaning the podium with. It's not part of her persona, I don't think. Thomas, welcome, sir.
All right, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Good afternoon, members of the board. Patsy and myself are here today to give an update on the Miracle Park at Coopers. I have put a revised PowerPoint presentation on your stand. So the one that I submitted, I had to make a couple revisions. So just look at this one; it's more current.
Okay.
All righty. So what we're going to cover today is the grand opening ceremony and other events that happened on May the 15th, 2021. We're going to talk about other programs and activities since May 15th. We're going to give an update on the Concession restroom building. Patsy will give an update on the grants. We will discuss potential Phase 2 amenities, and we will talk about the baseball on softball fields improvement project. So on Saturday, May 15th at 11 a.m., we had our formal grand opening for the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. We feel this was a very successful event, and we had amazing turnout and great support from the community. During this event, we had great speakers. Speakers included the county commissioners, county manager, local representatives, Trillium Health Resources, and Mr. Harold Winstead. Following the speakers, the entrance road of the park was dedicated to Mr. Harold Winstead, which is named Winstead Way. After the entrance dedication, county commissioners, park funding agencies that were in attendance, and staff, we gathered for a ribbon cutting. After that grand opening ceremony and ribbon cutting, our department had 2 other events. Those events was the Mother and Son Luau and a community day. This event consisted of free hot dogs, hamburgers, chips, drinks, and Italian ice to participants and the community. The Mother-Son Luau event consisted of competitive games and activities between mothers and sons ages 4 to 12. We also hosted T-ball games on the Tharrington Field and Edwards Field number 2 that day. Those T-ball games were the first organized games at the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. And here are some pictures from the Mother-Son Luau. Jonathan Edwards took those pictures, and I just wanted to include those in the PowerPoint presentation. So other events that we've been having at the park since May 15th, our department partnered with the Department of Social Services to host a movie night on May 21st to celebrate Foster Care Awareness Month in May by doing an outdoor movie for the county's foster parents and kids. We also hosted a basketball camp for over 20 participants on June 7th through the 9th, and at the moment we're hosting a 3-on-3 basketball league for boys and girls ages 9 to 12 and 13-15. Both of those leagues combined have over 50 participants. Also, twice a month, we rent out the soccer fields on Saturday and Sunday to host La Liga de Zebulon. This is a soccer league that consists of 10 teams and has games in Zebulon, Bailey Middlesex Community Park, and now the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers. And here are some pictures from our basketball camp that we hosted earlier this month. The next item that I would like to discuss is give an update on the concession/restroom building. I reached out to the contractor and I was given the following update. The building is expected to be complete in July. The outside is now complete, except the sidewalks, plumbing, electrical, and HVAC rough ends are all completed and passed inspections. The drywall is hung and finishing of drywall was complete this last Friday. All doors and frames have been installed. The FRP board is being delivered today and will be installed this week. This is the fiberglass paneling that will be put on the bathroom and the concession stand walls. All hardware, toilet partitions, and toilet accessories are in the warehouse and will be installed after the FRP boards are complete. The interior painting is expected to be done the first week in July. The plumbing and light fixture will be installed right after the prime coat of paint. And the last large remaining item to be done is the installation of the septic system. And this was a picture of the building earlier this month. This project is coming along, and I want to say it's probably about 80 to 90% complete. All right, now we'll turn it over to Patsy to give an update on the grants.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, ma'am.
As assistant to the county manager, I help manage grants for various projects, as you know, including Phase 1 of the Nash County Miracle Park at Coopers, which is a regional park with many all-inclusive elements. Let me tell you about some of the capital investments committed for Phase 1 of this park. $750,000 by Trillium Health Resources. $500,000 by the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, $125,000 by the North Carolina General Assembly, $60,000 by the Major League Baseball Tomorrow Fund, $716 by the Twin County Catalyst Organization, and $256,000 by the Coopers Community Development Association, including $50,000 from the DeLeon Carter Foundation for the Carter Store concession area. Allegra Printing helped the CCDC with a grant for the donation brochures. Vandermark Farms donated sod for the area near the playground. Allen's Nursery donated and maintains landscaping in the park. Turnkey Contracting donated labor for the concession and restroom building, and there have been numerous other corporate and individual donations for ball fields, picnic shelters, signs, etc., that Mr. Harold Winstead, Miss Jane Tyson, Miss Peggy Winstead, and others have managed. And that has helped Nash County Parks and Recreation and Stocks Engineering build an attractive, comfortable, and already well-visited park. To date, we have been reimbursed for all of the grant funding with just a few exceptions. The final reimbursement from Trillium is pending as we speak, and the final reimbursement from Partif is pending following an inspection by the Partif personnel. In addition, per our agreement, the CCDC is ahead of schedule to reimburse Nash County, and there is $15,000 each that will be reimbursed in 2022 and 2023, and $5,000 in 2024. The total park project will cost over $2.6 million, with over 90% in leverage funding and over $900,000 in capital invested by Nash County. And as we stated at the groundbreaking in May, we can't thank the funders enough for their generous support for this much-needed park facility. I'll answer any questions when we're done, I guess, if anybody has any, or now.
Questions of any board members?
Do we have any status on the paving grant that we submitted?
Good question.
Not at the moment. They said they would contact us before July 1st, because the funding is for July 1 to June 30th. So at the moment, we haven't heard anything.
Okay, so when you guys hear, you'll let us know.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Other questions, Mr. Gee? Thank you, ma'am, and I think Thomas, you got some more, I'm gonna let you finish. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Pastor. So once Phase 1 is finished, we would like to shift our focus to future development at the park and propose Phase 2 developments. Some of those amenities for Phase 2, are splash pad, tennis courts, dogs parks, disc golf course, additional walking trails, and additional parking. Potential funding for Phase 2 amenities could come from the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, which provides matching grants to local governments to assist with public parks and recreation projects. The tentative timeline for the upcoming 2021 and 2022 funding cycle is October 21st. There will be an announcement made for the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation, which they will send the announcement package to inform local governments about the availability of part of matching grants and how to apply. In April of 2022, that will be the application review deadline, where local governments may submit their draft applications to the RIS regional consultant by April 1st, 2022 for a technical review to ensure that the application is complete. And in the late summer or fall of 2022, that's when they will select the grant recipients for funding for fiscal year 2021, 2022 funding cycle. The final item that I would like to update the board on are the field conditions of the infields at the Miracle Park at Coopers. And this is not the best picture, but all of the fields at the Miracle Park are filled with rocks that are buried 2 to 6 inches deep in the infield clay. During our spring baseball season and the week that we were getting prepared for those T-ball games at the grand opening, we had teams that were calling and complaining that the rocks were a hazard to our players. They had mentioned that when the players were playing and trying to field ground balls, the rocks would change the trajectory of the ball, and we had several players get hit in the face due to the rocks on the field. Our staff would try to get the rocks off the field with shovels and by hand, but when they started dragging the field for prepping it for the games and practices, or if a hard rain come, those rocks would just rise to the top of the infield again, surface again. We met several contractors on site, and they all recommended that each field be laser cut and laser graded to remove the rocks. This process consists of removing 2 inches of infield clay mix on each field and 6 inches on the Big Edwards field number 1, because that's the worst field, and disposing of the spoils once they removed from the clay is removed from the infield. Then they would provide and replace the infield mix that was removed with new clay infield mix, and then laser grade and roll the infield mix so the fields will be even and a playable surface. We are currently waiting to receive 3 different quotes. However, until we find a solution to solve the problem for the rocks, it's going to be extremely hard for us to host tournaments in the future and even begin practices and games for the upcoming fall season without this being a hazard, severe hazard to our players. As I mentioned, I just wanted to update you guys on that, and as soon as we receive some quotes, we can get with the park committee and suggest how we like to move forward. But that concludes Patsy and our presentation, and we would be willing to entertain any questions.
When do you,
Question.
I'm sorry, when do you
ahead.
expect to have those quotes?
Hopefully within the next week or two. Our parks manager, Taylor Lewis, he's here with me. He met a couple contractors on site last week.
Okay.
Other questions? Thomas, I'd like to talk to you later about this particular problem. I hadn't heard anything at all about it. I'm a little bit amazed.
Okay.
How it happened, quite frankly, but we need to review the specs and
Okay.
see where the origination of the issue is.
Okay.
Something that shouldn't have happened, but we can go into that. All right, any other comments or questions?
Are you keeping a record of the number of people using the park?
As far as on a daily basis, or how many use the baseball field during the season?
Well, just a record of the different activities that,
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can tell you when it's used the most is when you rent that field, those fields out to the soccer league.
Oh, yes, it's
That's,
definitely packed.
Interesting time when that Saturday and Sunday that goes on. It's very well used. Yes, indeed, but it's used all the time. Mr. Lamb?
Like the chairman, the infield concerns me that that hadn't been addressed before. The soccer fields, are there any issues with rock or anything?
No issues on the soccer fields, and Taylor, he went even in the outfield where the grass at and dug around about 2 to 3 inches, and there's no rocks in that soil as well.
Okay.
Well, you have a special blend that you put on the infields. I don't remember the specs on this particular job is what I want to look at, but
It's supposed to have been a 70-30 mix, and we had to send the soil sample to New York to get approved for MLB for that grant, for that infield mix.
well, something is amiss, but we can take that up
Okay.
after the meeting sometime. I'm a little bit amazed at what you pointed out here today, but we can certainly work through it.
Okay.
May involve the former contractor.
Any more questions?
Any other questions? We thank you, sir. Good report.
Thank you.
And while we're fortunate enough to have Mr. Peterson here, I'd like to ask the board to give Trillium a hand for the great help they gave us on the park and the playground if we could. And we certainly want to thank you for that. Thank you, Dave. All right, item 6 on the agenda, we do take up budget amendments if we have something that comes up mid-month that needs attention, and I'll call on Donna Wood at this time. I think we have 3 items today that she wishes to take care of due to a time matter.
Okay. Good afternoon.
yes,
First of all, I'd like to say I do not have any budget amendments to present, so if we could go to the next item, which are project ordinances, I'd like to move forward to that.
So you have nothing for item 6?
Nothing for item 6.
Had it in preparation because you generally do come up with something, I guess. Go ahead.
Okay, the first grant project ordinance I have is an amendment to the Water Sewer Road project and the Tank and Water Loop project. And this amendment includes funding for electrical for the tank, and increase available funding from transfers from the general fund contributions from previously closed Middlesex projects, and also to restructure the project ordinances, restructure the project ordinance to show the expenditures by funding source. And that's what's included in the First Amendment for that project.
So you want to vote on these individually?
I can move on to all of them if you prefer that. So that-
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. The next project ordinance, actually, I would like to do individual because I have a step with the American Rescue Plan that I need the commissioners to take
Kind of what I
separately.
thought, because you got them signing some of them. On the first one, Patsy, you have called me a few times here recently about getting those funding aligned. Is that what this is? So we can move stuff from one grant to another grant to help, or one
Yes.
part?
We're trying to get it all sorted out so we can draw as much down from each of the funding sources as possible, and this will help us do that.
We overspent one of the grants, we underspent the other one, and you're moving, or getting permission to move something from Golden Leaf to take up the shortcoming on the other grant.
Right, Golden Leaf was gracious enough to expand the scope of its project so that we could include some of the tank and water loop expenses over on that side of the ledger.
Do we have that permission already?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you do. Yeah, I think I did see an email today about that.
And we also included electrical for the tank as well.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Mr. Lamb, on that? Okay. Any questions on this one? Entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Commissioner Leggett, there a second? Second by Commissioner Combs. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of that motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? Motion for the ordinance is approved.
Okay. The next ordinance is for the American Rescue Plan Act grant funds. The Governing Board of Nash County has requested to authorize the receipt of the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds authorized by the American Rescue Plan Act of $18,316,281 and delegate authority to the county manager to execute any necessary agreement on behalf of the board. So that's the first action, if you could authorize that we accept those funds that have been established for Nash County. And then the next item, the attached project ordinance is submitted to establish a special revenue grant project ordinance for the American Recovery Plan Act, the American Rescue Plan Act and related expenditures. Nash County has actually received the first installment of the funding, which is $9,158,140.50. We just received that, and the grant project ordinance is presented for adoption to recognize the grant proceeds received and authorize expenditures by function.
Questions on this from commissioners?
I just have one question regarding, this is to the manager, regarding the 18 million, which is coming from the federal government. Do you have any idea what stipulations may be placed on use of that funding?
Yes, we do. There have been a series of Zoom calls and seminars that I don't think Ms. Wood has missed one. Ms. Schatzer's been also attending those. Mr. Boone has attended several. I've attended several. And I think last week they came out with some final recommendations. We're always leery of the guidance that we get, but we do feel that water, sewage, and internet are all three eligible and are going to be eligible in the future. I can tell you, just in the last week, Finance has been dealing with Fema reimbursement on COVID where, and I've seen this happen for years, somebody early tells you you can use something, you can use the FEMA money for something, and then later they say you can't use it for that, such as the plastic shields in the tax office and in the registered deeds office. We were told we could, but now we've been told we can't, so we're having to move money around. But on the American Rescue Act plan, we continue to get guidance. We are going to have a staff committee set up in July. We will invite up to 3 commissioners at any time to attend those meetings, and we're going to come up with a plan. It may be loose general categories at first, but we have gotten some guidance, and again, I think water, sewage, and internet are the 3 that it's not disputed that the money can be used for. We're also waiting to hear from the General Assembly. Let's talk about some matching grants. If you use this money for internet, that there may be some state money that you can use for internet also. So we are still trying to figure out the maze.
Thank you.
I would add to that, I've probably been in 2 of those seminars, but
That's right, you also attended.
last week, or maybe the week before, we had an update from the association, which I thought was, and we had one by NACO also, but the one by the association I thought was the most clear, precise one that I understood the best, quite frankly, and I think they've about got it figured out, which our association is generally well ahead of all the rest of them in the country and get stuff done, but I left there thinking, and quite frankly, I got trapped here recently at 2 of the towns in my district by going there for something else. Then they got to ask me questions in a public meeting about how they could spend that money, because they're all getting money as well. But my advice to them was, if you stick with the water and sewer, you stick with the internet, you're just not going to have any issues, is what I thought. They were talking about parts and things. There was a little bit of leadway on parts, but it was very narrow, and it would be one that I was afraid would come back. There was some leadway on frontline workers and potential additional pay for them.
That's
That one
correct.
seemed a little narrow in itself, so I hope the staff generally takes the ones that have the most broad approach and don't get us in trouble later, because it's a tremendous amount of money, and I'm just amazed that that much is out there already. And in my committee reports at the end of the meeting, Mr. Outlaw, I've got something else that I've got to deal with today on the MPO with another large sum of money that's going to be available. But I think the water and sewer and the internet are by far the ones that we won't get scrutinized in. And as Donna said, we've already got half of it in the bank, and we got 4 full years to spend the money. So it's not like the CARES Act where we're under such tight restraints, and we had to get extremely creative, and to the point that I was a little nervous on sometimes how creative we got about those, just trying to get the money spent, quite frankly. But I'm sure we'll be okay.
We're also going to get the next 9 million next year, not
Right.
2 years from now.
Right.
So, of course, that'll be in a special reserve fund.
It'll be part of this project as well, and that's why I'm setting this up. This was part of the Local Government Commission's recommendation. Go
Right.
ahead and do a grant project ordinance. So as the manager indicated, these are loose categories at this point. You'll see me back with amendments to this project once our committee gets moving and we establish some more detail of how we'd like the county to move forward and recommendations to the commissioners.
Let me ask you one more question. Are the municipalities receiving any ARP funding?
They are, but
They are.
not from the county. The county
They're
is receiving
receiving it direct?
Directly.
Direct.
from the state.
Are we having, I know we can't tell them what to do with it, but are we having any discussion with them to share our thoughts, give them some general idea of how we plan or are thinking about using, or are we planning to have that discussion, or?
We do have some thoughts about that, including southern area sewage.
Well, that was my first thought. Bailey's, I believe,
Bailey,
under a sewer
Middlesex,
moratorium.
yeah.
So I would hope that, they would consider that as maybe a priority. I don't know.
Yeah, we're going to be, that's going to be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And the amount of money they got is not huge amounts, except for Rocky Mount probably. But I know what Ruddock and I know what Dorcher's got already, and it won't be hard to spend the amount of money that they got. Really
Middlesex
through.
is a small amount, it
Yeah.
won't do a lot.
Yeah, that's right, the smaller towns were, and I even know, because it's unknown and not committed, or would not be suppressing funds, is that I think those two could use it for the possible payments to the county on their water obligation once we determine each year what it is, because they don't know what that is now. I felt like that would be something, they both really like that idea, so you may just find them using it for that. Because if the northern water system, both of those towns have agreed to help us with any shortfall we have until we get this system back on a positive basis at the end of each year. In fact, they both have already made the initial payments on the water system.
Well, I know they will, and I know we will. Use it smart.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to use this money very smart. It's I realize there's a lot of states and a lot of counties and cities throughout the United States that this money is critical to. I can report to y'all that according to our finance officer, we're going to end up adding to our fund balance this year.
Is that right?
Despite all the additional things y'all did during the year, including the internet project and some other things. Our revenues have not suffered. Now, that's one thing that we're not going to be able to do that other cities and counties and states may be able to do is if you suffered revenue loss, you can use this money for that revenue loss, but we don't have it. So this money will be used for completely new projects or additions to existing projects. So.
Or projects that have been identified that we didn't put on the table this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think the caution we got to have, Mr. Lamb, or y'all should have as administrators, is we know how long it takes a water and sewer project from the thought of it to get it approved, get it designed, get it through the state agencies. We just got to be very cognizant of that 4-year term because it can get by us real quick and we don't have the stuff out to bid yet or don't. If the money's got to actually be spent, well, we got to get to work on what we're going to do a lot sooner than later.
And
that's
like-
one thing that makes me nervous.
Like the community college money that came down a few years ago where everybody was building at the same time.
Right.
The regulatory folks in Raleigh are going to be swamped
Yeah.
with what we present. So I agree, we need to get moving on what we're going to do with this money and have a 4-year time period.
Right.
Or a 3.5-year time period.
One more question, since you mentioned community college. Does it appear that community colleges are going to get any additional funding?
Not from ARP, I don't think. They may be some of the state money that, I don't know if you read in the paper, they have quite a surplus in funds. I'm not sure. I'd rather say not sure than tell you yes
In
or
one of
no.
those seminars, it was said that none of the ARP money was for education.
Yeah.
versus-
But there may be
I think
state
that
money.
was the NACO one.
Yeah.
Ms. Wood, you just need approval on this one?
I do. I need authorization, obviously, for the receipt of the money, which we have, but I want it established in our board minutes that the
And
board
this-
has approved it.
This action for the board's benefit does not do anything about appropriating funds for any project. It just takes the funds in and sets up the project ordinance sits. So when we spend any money, the ordinance has to be ahead of the expenditure so we can charge it back to that particular thing. So I'd entertain a motion for approval of the project ordinance at this time.
I make a motion, we approve, authorize the receipt of the ARPA grant and adopt the ARPA grant project ordinance. Is that what you need?
That is
Yes, sir.
correct.
Exactly. Is second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? The ordinance stands approved as well. And the last one is the CARES Act funding.
The last one I have is, we have COVID-19 grant project, and this does hold our CARES Act funding, and this is just to clean up our ordinance as of the end of the year. So that this amendment is adjusting the funding allocation categories primarily related to the CARES Act funding, the CARES coronavirus relief funds established under the CARES Act for proper reporting.
If I read this, it appears like you spent every dollar we got. Is that correct?
Well, this is setting it up to spend.
Setting it up to spend.
Yeah.
Right, that is correct.
And you want to let them know what we did with the comp time?
What we, part of our spending under payroll is to pay out comp time related to the vaccination clinics and the testing clinics. So for public health and public safety that were involved in those activities, we were able to calculate comp time related to that and use this funding to pay out the comp time.
And it had to be comp time accrued after March of 2020. If you had any comp time prior to that, you couldn't use this money, but anything that occurred after COVID came, we could pay that off. So that was,
Big item.
that was nice to be able to do.
Well, it's probably got us in better shape than we've been in years for that.
Accruals at the end of the
Right.
fiscal year, we're gonna, I think it'll be less reserved by state statute because of that.
Any questions on this item? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Bellfield, a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Outlaw. Any questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries as well. We'll move to, anything else, Ms. Wood?
Sorry?
You have anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
We did have one board appointment that we carried over from last time, and especially if you'll present that to us, and if you have it with you, give us the update of the mix of that board as well. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Yes, in your first meeting in June, I shared with you that I would bring this appointment back to you in your second meeting in June for the Nash County Jury Commission. The term for R.L. Bass Jr. For the Nash County Jury Commission will expire on June 30th, 2021. He is eligible, willing, and recommended for reappointment. And do you just want me to share the other two
I
members
think
that are?
Mr. Bellfield asked a question of the makeup of that board, if
The-
you would give that answer.
Yes, correct. The makeup of that board, Mr. Bass is a white male. Lois Harris is the appointment from Mrs. Linda Thorne, and that is a white female. And Irma Whitaker is the appointment by Judge Sumner, and she is a black female.
So it is 3 members.
It is 3 members, one appointed by this board.
Any questions on this appointment?
Has that jury commission been reduced? I thought one time, several years ago, there were 5 people on there.
I think it's always been 3, Mr. Bellfield. But
Okay.
I'm not sure. You've been here longer than I have.
It's been 3 at least since '88. That's when I
Yeah,
first
well,
had to deal with
I'm
it.
thinking beyond that, but, because I haven't kept up with it since then, but I thought it was 5 on there, I remember.
You say since '88, Mr. Lamb?
I know in '88, there were only 3.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval of Mr. Bass. Moved by Commissioner Leggett, second. Second by Commissioner Combs. Any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now on item number 8, which is board, committee, or special reports. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Outlaw.
Bear with me a minute, sir. Have you got Ms. Schatzer, have you got a listing of the committee reports with you down there? I don't have my hard copy up here.
You want this?
That's what I'm trying to pull up. I'm having difficulty doing
Page
that.
39, the last page in there.
My problem's not the page, my problem's pulling it up.
I can't pull mine up either.
Stacy.
You have a paper?
Yeah. That's good. That'll be fine.
It's the last page.
Thank you much. We mentioned that, Fred mentioned this in his prayer, but I spoke with Ms. Wells today, and I believe she did say she'd be hopefully coming home Tuesday, and she sends her regards to the board, and she's anxious to get back to a more normal way of life. So with that said,
And if I may interrupt you, I failed to have you have the minutes show that she has an excused absence today. So if you would put that in the minutes. Excuse me, Mr. Outlaw.
So we will skip over hers today because she is obviously not here. So we'll start with Commissioner Arrington, District 1.
Yes, I attended the board meeting for Spalding last Wednesday, and also we had a board meeting for the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council last Thursday. No major decisions, right, just basic board business.
Thank you, Commissioner Arrington. Any questions? Hearing none. District 2, Commissioner Belfield.
Okay, the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government met last week by virtue, and we approved a $12,238,101 budget for July 21 to July 22, and some of the breakdown: workforce development, $6 million, aging, $4 million, EDA, $115,000, planning development, $1,083,979, general administration, $222,725. We approved a new credit card policy, and we approve the program, the entire program work for the next fiscal year. Need, we approve the Personnel Committee recommendation to hire an interim executive director for Head Start. We also approved the executive director for, well, I guess, we just approved that, and her name, Michelle Cole, who was already acting interim executive director, and she was handling both Head Start and the total administration of need. We received the audit report, which was good, and we also appointed a select committee to look at upgrading salary grades. This committee will be headed by Viola Harris, and I'm also a member of that. JCPC, we met by virtue, and we heard reports from the different agencies that were funded during the fiscal year, and with nothing earth-shaking that I need to place a lot of emphasis on with that. Farmers market is going well, and because we haven't had a meeting since, I believe it was March. That's my report.
Any questions for Commissioner Belfield?
Just a little curious, you mentioned the update on credit card policy. What did that consist of?
Update on what policy?
You said you had an update on credit card policy?
Oh, yeah, well, we didn't have one. Am I correct on that? We didn't have one, and we think it's a need to do it.
Okay, so you just adopted a credit card
Yeah,
policy, not a change?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Thank you, Mr. Belfield.
So let me be clear. Need is transitioning to new.
Correct.
Is that correct? Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson, Community Action. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not official yet until, correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, but as I understood with our explanation, that's what it will be, but they won't, the way the lettering, that hasn't been final yet. Some want to see, some on the board want to see Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson, that big letters for each one line under each other. And it was also presented with going straight across Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson. So they're supposed to come back to us with
That sounds like a logo issue.
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Belfield, but legally, the name has been changed. All of the legal documentation has been completed for the legal name change, so we are now new. Mr. Belfield's correct. We're still working out with the board about the exact appearance and how we want it to be on the building, but that should be forthcoming very quickly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was the reason I said it wasn't official yet, but we did approve NEW.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Commissioner Belfield? Hearing none, District 3, Commissioner Cone.
Okay, you had a full report from Trillium today, which Dave can do a lot better job than I can, and I just appreciate the dedication there and what Trillium's having to go through. I do understand they will not lose, because they're going to be doing the whole care of a patient instead of just the mental health part. So it's going to balance out, and they're pretty confident that everything's going to be okay. Health and Human Services has not met. The Ag Advisory Board meets tomorrow night, and followed by a public hearing that to release some property from voluntary ag district status for the Eastern Avenue Highway widening project. So that's what's going on with the Ag Advisory Board tomorrow night.
Any questions for Commissioner Cone? Hearing none, District 4, Commissioner Leggett.
All right, to give a hospital board update for Nash UNC Healthcare, that board continues to meet monthly, and the hospital is continuously recruiting for physicians to avoid any service gaps and ensure good and continuous coverage of service in our local area, just for general practice and all specialties. They are also working to finish 3 space utilization projects, including surgery, cancer center, and imaging. For the Strategic Twin Counties Education Partnership Board, they last met in March and meet again tomorrow in person. The Nash County Farmers Market, I'll report on that as well. They haven't met, the board hasn't met recently, but operations are going very well. Their foot traffic has been great, approximately 200 to 300 people, more people per Saturday than our 2019 numbers. So last year's kind of not a fair comparison, but business is good at the farmers market, and they're continuing their senior food box distribution, and they have distributed over 2,200 boxes so far this year. And they're open on Tuesdays now, Tuesdays and Saturdays. Finally, the Natural Resources Resilience Committee, I don't have any updates to share at this time, other than I have a meeting scheduled with the NRCS director to see what we can do to push things along there.
Is that committee meeting at some frequency?
They met maybe 2 months ago,
Okay,
so that's all.
okay. Any questions for Commissioner Leggett? Hearing none, District 5, which is my district. The Upper Coastal Plain Rural Planning Organization, Transportation Advisory Committee, we have not met since the May the 12th meeting. Next meeting is July the 21st. The Nash Community College Board of Trustees, next meeting is this Friday. We last met in May. Nash County Broadband Committee, there's a report that Ms. McGee has put out, which she does this every month, and it's an excellent report. It's a multi-page report. It gives you a lot of information. Hope you're taking time to look at it and digest it, but that report is out. Take a look at it. If you have any questions, contact Patsy or any member of the committee. The committee consists of myself, Chairman Davis, and Commissioner Cone. And our next committee meeting is July the 8th at 10 a.m. Any questions?
Nothing on Nash Community College?
Regarding?
I don't think you mentioned anything on Nash Community College.
No.
No report on that?
No.
Okay, okay,
We've got a retreat this Friday,
okay.
so should have something following that meeting.
On broadband, didn't some, I think it was last year, didn't you report that some company has been working with you in the southern end of the county to improve setup for broadband?
The only company I'm familiar with working with is Cloudwise. There was an email regarding a company that had some interest, and I don't think, since we're contracted with Cloudwise, that there's much we could do with that group, but would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, I think I forwarded that to everyone, and
You did.
for informational purposes, but we have not followed up in any way with them. They're talking about an area that Cloudwise really is focusing on also.
Right.
But I know, but they were Franklin County line. They were in Franklin County, and they wanted to serve some people in our county, which I don't think we can prevent them from doing. I'm not
Don't
sure.
think we would want to.
No, I'm not sure what their ask was, but
I don't have that
I'll
in
review
front of
that
me either,
email.
but-
I'll review that email.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, as I mentioned, Ms. Wells is not with us today, but we do wish her well and hope to see her back soon. With that, I'll call for Chairman Davis's report, and following the chairman's report, turn the meeting back over to him. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Outlaw. The Tourism Development Authority, I reported last month about our budget meeting. We will not meet again until January. The Rocky Mountain MPO, we have not met since our last meeting. I do have a meeting today at 4:30 that it looks like I would certainly be able to attend. It is still virtual, and we haven't met in person, but we have had all of our meetings. And just an update on the board, what the meeting today about is a special call meeting, and it was because of the amount of money that is anticipated for the infrastructure that is in the federal budget, and they have got us advancing about 5 major projects to set up budget ordinances on, very similar to what we do here, just in anticipation of those funds, and it will actually move forward quite a bit of the work that is associated with turning US 64 into I-85. It is about 9 bridges that's in the county that we're setting up project ordinances for, and it is all associated with the I-85, so it looks like most of this stuff will move up about 5 years from what it was projected with that money. So apparently someone has made I don't know that much about it yet, but until we meet today at 4:30, but it looks like somebody's made a concentrated effort to spend the majority of the funds that the DOT is anticipated to get that would be allotted to this area would be spent on the changing of 64 to the I-85. The only thing outside of that is we are going to lay one project, which was the Bienvenue Road 64 bypass. You've probably seen numerous emails and numerous ads in the paper about lately about putting a roundabout there, and they're just a little bit behind on getting that design completed, so they're going to back the right-of-way up from 2001 acquisition to 2021 to 2022. But that project, which is a roundabout over there where the ramps come down on Bienvenue Road in that pad curve, and it's just a difficult movement right there because its site vision is so difficult that they are going to put a roundabout right there. But that will be coming instead of right-of-way acquisition this year, it's been moved to next year. That's what I anticipate that meeting to be about.
And you're talking about 64, the interstate standards all the way up to Virginia, right?
Yes, sir. Apparently, there's going to be quite a bit of that new money coming in concentrated towards that project, based on what I'm reading on my agenda for today, which
Yeah,
I
I-87.
was glad to see that. Yep. That completes the committee report. Thank you, Commissioner Outlaw.
How did,
Belfield?
How did 85 come into?
He meant 87.
87, I think I said 85, but you know, if you ride 64 now from Raleigh all the way to the coast,
yeah,
it talks,
yeah.
or down to Wilson, and then goes different directions, but it talks about I-87.
Okay.
And apparently that's going to get speeded up by the amount of funds that the federal government is planning on letting to be spent on infrastructures. And most of this money appears to be either shoulder work or bridge work. A lot of the bulk of the money's been spent on bridge work, because I guess we're having to rebuild quite a few of the bridges, maybe raise them as well as widen them out. I think Mr. Lamb serves on the committee that is working on that also. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, I just know that the infrastructure bill is running anywhere from 1 trillion to 3 trillion, and it's,
A lot of money either way.
well, it's not, no agreement.
Yeah.
There's not 50 votes in the Senate for any plan, so I suspect, they're saying that there should be something this week because of the summer recess, and if not this week, it could be the fall before they even.
Well, the Rocky Mountain MPO is going to be ready, it looks like. 5:30 today, maybe.
You can rest assured that thing is dead.
It's dead.
It won't happen. It won't happen.
Every time I disagree with you, Mr. Belfield, I lose, so I'm going to be quiet.
Chairman, any comments regarding, I think there's a DOT meeting tomorrow night regarding the Eastern Avenue corridor along the community college. Is that tomorrow night? I think it's tomorrow night.
That's the Ag Advisory Committee you're speaking of.
When is the DOT meeting?
Now, that's
I thought
what.
it was the DOT meeting.
It's the DOT because they're taking some property that's,
Properties, right.
yeah, that's ag, that's in an ag, what do you call it, ag?
Voluntary Ag District.
Yeah, voluntary ag district.
Yeah,
So the
stitching.
advisory board's got to vote.
But that affects the owners of property along that corridor, right?
That-
Just one.
Just one,
Okay,
where the nursery is.
right, okay.
Yep. And that is at 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening.
All right.
Is what I got, is that correct, Sue?
That's right. The board's going to meet at 5:15.
But
Things,
the public hearing is at 6 o'clock. Okay.
yep.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Lamb?
No, I don't.
Any board member have anything else? At this time, I call for a closed session. Closed session is for the matters of attorney-client privileges and one personnel matter. I think we voted at our last meeting that we would go to the committee room for our closed sessions or discussed it. I don't know. We actually took a vote.
Mr. Chairman,
And we will come back out here to close this meeting. Mr. Belfield?
I was going to say, can we have a break before we get into the?
We will have a break, yes, sir. We'll have a 10-minute break.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe do we anticipate any action from the attorney-client privilege?
I'm not sure what is on the agenda. Do we have anything? We do have some stuff. Any action to be taken?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
Okay.
Discussion at this point.
okay, just discussion on that, and we'll certainly not be any on the personnel matter. All right, I entertain a motion to go into closed session after a 10-minute recess.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Combs, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Belfield. Questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by a like sign? We are now reconvened in public session. There was no action that needed to be taken from the closed session. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion to close the commissioners' meeting for June the 21st.
So moved.
A motion to close by Commissioner Outlaw. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Leggett. Questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by a like sign? We stand adjourned.